What's up, guys? So, betrayal, great topic. There's a great book on it called Betrayals, The Unpredictability of Human Relations by Gabriella Turnaturi. I think she's Italian. And here's just an excerpt. I'll put a link to this book in the description. Furthermore, if it is true that not only in every relationship, but in every interaction, parts of ourselves that we were unaware of come to light, we cannot even be sure that we will never betray. Betrayal, both as an act on our part and as an action we undergo, is always relational and always possible. When we enter into relations with others, a step that is necessary for the construction of our own identity, we put into play our desire to be with the other, but also our desire not to lose ourselves in the other. And Robert Averick wrote in the foreword to my 2004 book, Yesterday's News, Tomorrow Inside American Jewish Journalism. Betrayal fascinates Luke Ford. It's his life. Luke betrayed his father, a prominent Seventh-day Adventist minister. And I'll be right back. Thanks, bro. Okay. Betrayal fascinates Luke Ford. It's his life. Luke betrayed his father, a prominent Seventh-day Adventist minister, when Luke converted to Judaism. Luke betrayed his second father when he sacrificed his friendship with Dennis Prager to work on an unauthorized biography of his hero. Luke betrayed Judaism when he became LukeFord.com, the preeminent journalist covering LA's sordid, mob-infested porn industry. Luke betrayed his Orthodox synagogue when he lied about his work and told the rabbi that he was, quote, a freelance journalist who writes about crime for a Japanese magazine. Okay, guys, I gotta vibrate my feet to get ready for the big show. And my father is not someone who throws out a lot of gratuitous compliments. And so he's said about me, and said to me, that Luke's usually willing to change his mind, that Luke's more willing to change his mind than anyone I know. So if you've been with me for a while, you know I do a lot of zigging and zagging. I'll make complete 180-degree turns. I read the Kaufman's Critique. I found it strong. Earlier than that, I read Cultural Critique by Kevin MacDonald. I found that strong. So zigging and zagging, because when I find new facts, new information, new logic, I embrace it, even if that means saying goodbye to everything that came before, completely doing like a humiliating 180. To me, truth is more important than my status or my consistency. And I think my father has a point that I am pretty flexible about changing my mind. If I see a new perspective, boom. If it rings true, if it adds up, I'll follow that. And so the downside of that is that I go through life leaving people feeling betrayed. When I converted to Orthodox Judaism, obviously I left the Christians that I grew up with feeling betrayed, because by converting to Orthodox Judaism, it felt to them that I was saying that their religion was wrong and false. When I converted to Judaism and started writing on the porn industry, of course it left people who believed in my conversion to Judaism feeling betrayed, because the pornography industry, of course, is a complete opposite of the holy life that Judaism intends for people to live. Yeah, I remember from your porn reporting, people get pissed because you're honest. Yeah, so I would go interview porn people, and then when I'd write about it, they'd feel betrayed. So why is that? Because there's nothing people enjoy more than talking about themselves, and there's nothing they hate more than seeing that end up in print. So if I go do an interview with someone and I write about it, is my perspective is obviously on them, and on the situation is going to differ from their own perspective. So that will always feel like betrayal. So when a journalist, or even just a bloke like me, comes to write about you, I'm not primarily doing it to tell your story. I'm going to tell my story of you. When the New Yorker comes calling, because they want to understand better where Mike Enoch's coming from, they're not going to be telling Mike Enoch's story. They're going to be telling their story of Mike Enoch. So that's why you often hear that journalism's all about charm and betray. Charm and betray. You charm to get the access, and then when you tell a story that's different from what someone's perception of their story is, it's going to feel like betrayal. So there is a fantastic book about this called The Journalist and the Murderer, because almost everyone who speaks to a journalist feels betrayed, because a journalist is never going to see you the same way that you see you. And so that feels like betrayal. Like if you come on my show and you give lots of opinions and share a lot from your life, what I will take away from it will be very different from your own interpretation. The way we tend to interpret our own stories is that we're the hero in our stories, but outsiders do not necessarily see us as heroic. They may indeed see us as satanic. So what's that famous opening sentence in the book, The Journalist and the Murderer by Janet Malcolm? Is about the ethics of journalism. Okay, here is her opening paragraph. Every journalist who is not too stupid or too full of himself to notice what is going on knows that what he does is morally indefensible. He is a kind of confidence man, preying on people's vanity, ignorance, or loneliness, gaining their trust and betraying them without remorse. Like the credulous widow who wakes up one day to find the charming young man and all her savings gone, so the consenting subject of a piece of non-fiction learns, when the article or book appears, his hard lesson. Journalists justify their treachery in various ways according to their temperaments. The more pompous talk about freedom of speech and the public's right to know. The least talented talk about art. The seemliest murmur about earning a living. And the protagonist in her book is a convicted murderer, Jeffrey MacDonald. And when Joe McGinnis came to tell his story, he found that MacDonald was not interesting at all. And Janet Malcolm writes, as every journalist will confirm, MacDonald's uninterestingness is not unusual at all. When a journalist fetches up against someone like him, all he can do is flee and hope that a more suitable subject will turn up soon. In the MacDonald-McGinnis case, we have an instance of a journalist who apparently found out too late that the subject of his book was not up to scratch, not a member of the wonderful race of auto-fictionalizers like Joseph Mitchell's Joe Gould and Truman Capote's Perry Smith, on whom the non-fiction novel depends for its life. The solution that McGinnis arrived at for dealing with MacDonald's characterlessness was not a satisfactory one, but it had to do. So this book caused a great deal of reaction. So Janet Malcolm's premise is that every journalist was in the business of gaining his subjects' trust and betraying them without remorse. Gore Vidal called source betrayal the iron law of journalism. Susan Orlean endorsed Malcolm's thesis as a necessary evil. In the decade after Janet Malcolm's essay first appeared in The New Yorker, her once controversial theory became received wisdom. I think both the profession and subjects have paid a high price for our easy acceptance of Malcolm's moral calculus. Then New York Times wrote, Janet Malcolm appears to have created a snake swallowing its own tail. She attacks the ethics of all journalists, including herself, then fails to disclose just how far she has gone in the past, enacting the role of the journalistic confidence man. So her book ranks 97th on the Modern Library's list of the 20th century's 100 best works of non-fiction. The Journalist and the Murderer. The journalist as confidence man, and I have betrayed you, the viewer, by wearing this t-shirt. I'm about to bike a few miles, get in shape for the show tonight, so I apologize for betraying you by wearing this t-shirt. I think I'm going to betray Best Buy. I'm going to return this because I read so many bad reviews about this 43-inch Best Buy Toshiba 4K screen. So I think I'm going to return it if I'm going to get something better, I'll spend a few more dollars, get something of better quality. Sorry for the betrayal, guys.